It is 6:30 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Neither Richard nor Gordon are able to be here tonight. And we have a fairly short agenda. I just remembered Memorial Day.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'll just add that. We can talk about it later. So no public, no need to talk about rules of procedure. Are there any additions to our agenda?
No, I just had Peter added on new business, the Conservation Commission appointment, since the agenda was posted. So that is
Okay. And
Then your addition,
Memorial
which I
Day.
can
I have a
get
report from the Economic Development, or, Gabby and I both attended the Economic Development, what would you call that? Workshop in Putney, if you wanted to hear a little
I'm
bit
very
about
interested
it.
in that, yes. So that would be under discussion updates?
Sure.
Sure.
I don't have a formal presentation, but,
Sure.
I think it was interesting.
There probably are no changes to the agenda order.
Nope.
And we will table the approval of minutes of the May 11th meeting because we do not have the right constellation of select board members. So Gabby, that brings us to Conservation Commission appointments.
Yep. So a few months ago, David Gessner left, resigned his position. So there's been an open seat for a couple of months, and we are lucky that Susan Baumthorn has accepted the Conservation Commission's request for her to be a commissioner. So I'd like to move that we appoint Susan Baumthorn as Conservation Commissioner.
I'll second that.
I don't know her.
She's my
Are they
next door
happy-
neighbor.
are they happy to-
Well, you could speak to her personally. I've only heard about good things about her.
Well, she's very committed to conservation. She sees Linda on the morning walk with us every single day, and she's the overall founder and editor of the Guilford Gazette. So,
Lovely. So she's an avid community
Hand.
engaged.
Absolutely, and
person.
I've heard only good things about her from the Conservation Commission
Great.
members.
2 seconds. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
BONTH.
Linda.
Oh, Linda Hecker?
No, Linda Bonthram? Is that
Oh,
what
no,
she-
Susan
Susan.
Bonthron. Susan, BONTHRON.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Nobody opposed, good. Oh, here comes Danny.
Yep.
Old business. So are you done with that? Can you give us an update on the RFP?
Yes, so the RFP has gone out and we have had what I feel is a very positive response thus far. I hosted 2 events here at the town office last week for anyone to show up as they wished.
You managed in that week.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And between the 2 days, we had 13 individuals show up from 9 different firms
Wow.
for our RFP. It's
Really
been really great. Lots of positive feedback about the RFP. Lots of positive feedback about the space that we have here and things that ideas that people had of what we can do, and not have it be too much money. So everyone was very excited. I have unofficial commitments from at least 3 firms that they will be submitting an a proposal to us for this initial stage. And I tentatively have 2 more firms scheduled for individual walkthroughs.
Individual
Yes,
walkers?
walkthroughs.
Walkthroughs, I'm sorry.
Since one of the stipulations we put in the RFP was that a site visit was mandatory, so they can have a better understanding of what our needs and desires are, as well as to see the space, because we're not building a new building. We want to fix some of the issues that we have here.
So when are they due, these?
So working with Gabby, we decided that the final submission date for the proposals will be the 30th of June.
Do you think we're gonna get them sooner than that, or?
I highly doubt it. The feedback I've gotten, everyone thought that was a really reasonable timeline. It gave them the amount of time that they needed to be able to put things together, but it wasn't, they wouldn't feel rushed, but it wasn't something that they could just put on the back burner and wait.
Okay.
So,
Local people?
Yes and no. We had one respondent from Manchester, New Hampshire, one from Rutland, and one from Montpelier, and then all the rest were local. Local as in 10 miles radius from Guilford.
And any women-owned? Just out of curiosity, because I think that was one of our...
That was one of our requests. I don't know who owns all of the firms.
I think all men showed up.
It was all men that showed up, but I don't...
you were here when...
I was here when one walkthrough was going on.
Yeah, that was the larger of the two groups. There were 7 people showed up for that meeting. Yes. So I don't know the answer to that.
Just curious. You have anything to add to that?
I think we're on a
So
Thank you.
good start. So.
And so just a word about once the proposals are in, do we have a set protocol for decision making?
I wouldn't say it's a set protocol, but what we were going to do is I've created more or less a scoring matrix, and I'll go through and do it. And this was through discussions with a variety of people.
I think it was in the Was it in the RFP, or we just discussed it at the same time as the RFP?
It's in the RFP.
It's in the RFP.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So we put together a scoring matrix. So I'll go through and score those initially, and then we'll likely present the top 3 or 4 to the select board for you to review.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of a variety of criteria,
Mm-hmm.
and you then will have. I mean, if you want, I can show you all of them, but the
I
thought
think
was.
that
I think we
there
should
will
do
be-
it. Actually, I think we should do a matrix and show so that we can all see all of them.
Yep.
I think that would be actually helpful.
Yep.
Personally,
So
maybe we can create a folder in the Google Drive that has the matrix and then all of the actual proposals.
sounds great.
That would be awesome.
So the next thing on the agenda is the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District timeline update. And as a reminder, we had decided that we need to, because of the situation with Wyndham Solid Waste Management District changing their services as of July 1st, we needed, and trying to understand the value of services for the dollars that we spend, we asked Peter to develop a timeline of what our process should be, and he's done a fair amount of investigation and has some updates to give us. And then I think our goal tonight would be to decide when we next meet as maybe in a workshop to discuss the next steps for the select board and the town for the select board to take and the town to consider.
So at the moment, I don't have a concrete. Just to put this out there, I don't have a concrete timeline yet because I'm still trying to piece things together. So I've been in conversation with Wyndham Regional Commission. They've been very helpful on kind of walking through their understanding of the steps. And one of their recommendations, particularly from Susan McMahon, was that I needed to contact this woman whose name I'm blanking out at the moment, but who works for the Agency of Natural Resources, that this is her job within the state, is managing this whole process. So she and I have been playing phone tag, and finally were able to connect this morning, and had a very good conversation with her. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but she did point out a number of things for us to consider and to think about in this process. And I think that, as Sheila said, it would be good for the select board to have another work session like we did previously, this time just the select board members and then any public who wishes to show up, to kind of discuss where we're at with things. Generally, the timeline takes roughly 2 to 3 months for most towns. We would
To do what?
to go from the point where we are at right now to putting a SWIP together, presenting it to
Solid waste implementation plan.
solid waste implementation plan together, submitting it to the Agency of Natural Resources for them to do the preliminary review. Then they, most of the time, they require some edits to the document. Depending on how much effort we put in on the back end, those edits can be either a lot or very minimal. And then after their tentative approval, then we have to have a minimum of 2 public hearings within the town to consider the SWIP. And then after the final public hearing, 30 days after the final public hearing, if there's no public response, then we are able to move forward, and then we will get the final review from, final review and final approval from the Agency of Natural Resources.
So actually, I think it would be if there is no response, but taking into consideration public response.
If there's no negative response,
Okay.
clarify, if there's no negative response. So on average, it takes about 3 months, is what she said, for that whole process to happen. And she did confirm that we cannot leave the district if that's what the town decides to do until we have a solid waste implementation plan that has been a minimum tentatively approved by ANR.
So if we were to choose to leave this Wyndham Solid Waste Management District in September, August, July, we would have to make a decision by the end of June and have something submitted by the end of
That
June,
is correct. That's what she said as well.
which is not likely.
Because I was going to say it's 2 to 3 months from the time that that A&R receives the actual
That's
submission,
correct.
right? So not the time.
So not likely to happen in the 2018,
That is correct.
18 fiscal year.
She said it could happen, but we would have to, the select board have to make that decision, which would also mean that, so she did tell me that if we wanted to make it by the deadline to notify WSWMD this year, that at the latest, I would need to submit it to her by July 1, and that's not realistic.
No.
So maybe I think what would be helpful, at least for me, is to have a chronology.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be dates, but just like 30 days after this, or 30 days,
Yep.
or 60 days, or whatever.
Sure.
And then maybe back, and have it with an end point of next September
Sure.
as sort of our end deadline. And maybe a summary of what, do we have a sample SWIP?
We do.
There are a lot, yeah.
Okay, just so we can have an idea of what actual amount of work that's entailed.
So I know there are sample SWIPs around the state that have that have been created and implemented and succeeded with the ANR. Does the Wyndham Regional Council help us with this, or is this
They
something
would.
that we would borrow, adapt from another town or something?
So it is, if the town decides to move forward on this, it is recommended to have Wyndham Regional assist us in this. And speaking with, emailing both with Chris Campany and Susan McMahon, they quote a fee of approximately $3,000 for them to do that, and all that does is that covers their personnel hours to do the work. Chris did state for the other ones that they have worked on that all of them have been less than that, and he said that is the actual amount that they do is really impacted by how much work I would put into the prior to them seeing it, which makes sense. So yes, even the woman at A&R did strongly encourage us, if this is the route we wish to take, to work with them.
Work with
Wyndham Re-
WRC.
Yeah,
Wyndham
WRC.
Regional. So I read in the paper that the compulsory composting was postponed in the state legislature, I guess for a year?
For 1 year, yep.
For 1 year, and I wondered whether, I mean, aside from my dream of community conversations on composting, you know, I wondered whether that postponement was, had any impact on the SWIP that we create.
Nope.
No.
That is
That's
solely
a s-
for private haulers. Is
Oh,
that,
I see. Okay.
because they were struggling to get the resources together to implement that in the timeline that the state initially wanted.
I see.
So it's giving them an additional year to be able to work to get that in place.
Mhm. But so having a plan for the town's dispatching of compost isn't part of a solid waste implementation plan?
Not as I understand it at the
Oh,
moment.
okay, just curious.
I have not read the sample SWIP
Mm-hmm.
in its entirety as of yet because it's fairly long. But that is one of the next steps.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So, on May 31st, a week from Tuesday, we have an open meeting law seminar here. In the morning, right?
No.
Is
No,
it
it's in
noon?
the
In the
afternoon.
evening?
Oh,
I thought it was
5 to
5
8.
on Wednesday.
5 to 8.
Yeah, it's 5 to 8.
On Wednesday.
That's
And
correct.
then we have scheduled a select board workshop with no topic to date for 7:30 a.m. on the 1st of June.
Correct.
So,
Unfortunately, I have to go to Cleveland for work, so I won't be available either for the open meeting session or a work session. We can talk about that,
Mhm.
you know. I'll be back on June 7th.
but does that seem reasonable to shoot for the June 1st?
No, and I probably won't be able to be there, actually.
No.
I was actually thinking if we want Peter to do more, I mean, this gives us the opportunity, if Peter has the time and the inclination to sort of delve in, if this is something he's interested in doing, that we should probably give him, I was actually going to ask, how long do you think it would take to do the necessary research that you need to do, like look at SWIPs and sort of have a reasonable timetable for proposing, you know, how to go about doing this. And I would expect that would be in large part some drafting on your end.
From what I've seen thus far, to do that next step I could probably do it in a workday.
Okay. Oh, that's quick.
Yeah, but I mean that would be if I spent
The whole day doing
the
it?
whole day doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So maybe mid-June would be reasonable to
I don't see why
given,
not.
because I mean you also have, you know, that'll be before the RFP proposals in response to the RFP come in, so maybe
Yes.
June 15th is reasonable.
I don't see why not
And then you can, because you'll have to turn
Which
your
is it?
attention.
to that.
So
Yeah.
maybe we should postpone the select board workshop to June 15th?
That's all right. I'm just picking June. I don't even know if
Yeah.
that's a weekday.
It's a Thursday.
It's a
It's a
Thursday.
Thursday. So
It's a good day.
It's a good
If you
day.
can do it, Gabby, it's a good day.
so
So an early morning meeting?
That's what, I mean, I think
well,
we do that.
we can
Well, I
coordinate that
know
with
that as the third Thursday, there'll be a Conservation Commission meeting here in the evening.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
we-
correct.
usually the
So-
workshop meetings are in the morning because of
Yeah,
Gabby's
that's
schedule.
fine. That's better for me.
So I will coordinate with the other two absent select board members for the 15th.
Okay.
Oh, let's see, the Cemetery Commission is going out on a work detail at 9 a.m. that
Okay,
morning.
so I will just coordinate a work session
Yeah.
in the middle of June.
Okay, terrific.
All right, so two other things under discussion updates. One is a Memorial Day.
Yes.
So I was asking about whether or not there's a Memorial Day service at the church, Christ Church, because often there is, and it's
Yep.
nice to have select board members there.
And I forgot to bring my note to the table, so just give me a second, because I did have a conversation with Herb Meyer today.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they will be having their annual event at 5 p.m. at the Christ Church Graveyard on Monday.
Oh, 5 p.m.
Yep,
Okay.
we'll be their honor guard.
So Dick Clark is usually a part of that, and Herb, and I don't know the other two people. I don't remember. It's just a nice thing to be.
Yep, and he wanted to send along his appreciation for letting the public know about the event.
Okay. And then the other thing under discussion updates is your economic development workshop
Oh,
at
sure.
in Putney,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
With
Yeah.
SeVEDS.
Mhm.
Yep,
People
Sarah
in it?
Lang, yep, BTCC SeVEDS. Sarah ran the workshop, and there are about 10 different municipalities there, both from around here, from the Bennington area.
Mhm. I mean, there wasn't anything really substantive that I took away from it, but the process was extremely interesting, probably for people who go to a lot of workshops. It wasn't that unusual, but she facilitated a conversation about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to each town, but the people from the town themselves weren't allowed to comment until the end. In other words, it was external perception
Mm-hmm.
about our town. So I can forward to you what the other groups said about our town. You
So
know.
I'm sorry, like Halifax and Marlborough and Vernon and whoever was there,
Oh.
we're talking about, I don't care.
Correct.
Other towns, we're talking about Guilford SWAT?
So
Yes.
they were doing. You did the analysis for every town but your own. You couldn't speak about your own, so you got everybody's perceptions in the region.
Wow, that's
so I
very
thought that was
interesting.
really
Yeah.
great to have.
Didn't
And Guilford did really. Guilford
Yes,
had really
yes.
good
Oh, I
strengths
really,
and really
I
good
didn't see any notes from
outside
this.
pers-
Well, I have
Sarah
the,
sent around actually she took pictures
yes,
of the
I have
whiteboard
the
for
picture
everybody.
right in front of me that she took of
Mhm.
the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities of Guilford, and I can forward them to everybody.
I think that would be great.
Who wants it. But, you know, the first thing was unspoiled, you know, I mean, the first strength was that Guilford was unspoiled, and, you know, there was access to Brattleboro, to Route 91, that it was, you know, a sort of quintessential, you know, country town. We don't have any bad reputation here, you know, which is that laughter from the
It is
peanut
laughter
gallery?
from some members of the public.
Right.
And it was nice to get other people's perceptions that basically it's a great, you know, like we have a good reputation as a place to live and be a part of and community, whereas in comparison to what other people were saying actually about their own communities was, you know, lack of volunteerism, for example, things like that we're really lucky to have and to know, like just to appreciate that we actually have a lot of resources, community-based resources as well as land-based resources that people can appreciate from outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that people step up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of sort of firepower in Guilford. You know, when the library wants to raise money, Judith Sirkin will get ringers to come and, you know, perform, world-class musicians here for the Guilford Free Library. Things like that, you know, happen. And on the way home, Richard Wasansky and I had a talk about how unfortunate to me the term bedroom community is, because it doesn't adequately describe our community.
No, I
you know,
agree.
it's much more a live, work, you know, a lot of people
It's
work
a community.
here. Yes, I mean, and so even though everybody doesn't make their livelihood here, the perception of a bedroom community as a suburb and a place that's sort of like not exactly happening. You know, it just rankles me, and
I think that's,
I think it would be interesting for us to come up with our own language about how we would describe what goes on here.
Yeah, because I think the take-home is we along with like Putney and Brookline who are there, we're all essentially non-economic hubs
Right.
that all rely on Brattleboro to be their economic hub. And it was great that Brattleboro was there, and to see how can we work with each other as well as with Brattleboro to make that relationship work for everyone in the area.
that was a good question.
It was also very interesting that the representative from Brookline talked about how they gave up their school. And to me, that's just, you know, a horror. I would hate to think of Guilford ever giving up the school. And I have worked in the Brookline Elementary School, done poetry there in the olden days. And, you know, the people felt it was just not sustainable, and that good things happened to their students by joining into Newbrook, I guess it's called, and also...
So Newfane and Brookline together, is that
Yeah.
what
Yeah, and
And it was interesting because everyone else's perception was like, oh, you lost your school. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's great. Like, we didn't have any issues as a town. I shouldn't say that was great, but that it was not a detriment.
yeah, they, I mean, or at least in his rendition of it. Also, you know, some people from other towns, from Shaftesbury, for instance, another town I knew from working there, that they didn't have hope. You know, they were looking for new inspiration. And I felt that Guilford is full of inspiration, you know, or even, you know, our projects are sometimes called aspirational in the sense of maybe a little bit of pie in the sky. But at least, you know, people are willing to struggle to do something they feel is public spirited and visionary.
And that ties in because I went to a downtown village, actually WRC put on a downtown village workshop Thursday night. And, you know, Algiers was an example of a success story. And, you know, and what people were looking for help with their towns and village centers, you know, what Susan McMahon, who's awesome, said is, you know, we help you, but there needs to be sort of the community that comes to the forefront that says, here's what we want to do. How can you help us? That's where the motivation needs to lie. And we have that in a number of projects here, which is, I think, tremendous. So, the take home, I feel like, from both the municipal workshop and then the town village workshop is that we're on the right path. We're doing the right things.
Yeah, I think that summarizes it.
Okay, thank you both. Next on the agenda is the general update of the highway. Mr. Zambreski.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Good evening.
Well, we're still grading roads, cleaning ditches. About it. We'll be doing that from now until probably the end of June. So, with all this rain, they've been getting rough and potholy, and so. Then we'll get to our other projects we've been doing in between too. So, maintenance on equipment and stuff like that. So.
How was it after the storm? Like, what was that, Thursday night?
You know what? We only had one tree that was on the wires on the end of Fitz Road, but we went around and, you know, checked everything to make sure. There's a few limbs here and there, but that was it. So, yeah, we lucked out.
Good.
I think,
Some places got a lot of tree damage. So. Yep.
I think there was a power outage on the other side of the hill from me. Dan, I had a question, which was that around the Grohl Cemetery on the Packer Corners Road, there are a bunch. Well, there's one or two trees that are kind of they cracked and they're leaning, and I didn't know whether, you know, I should get the cemetery commission, you know,
Were they right on the edge of the road?
Yeah, right on the edge
I'll take a
of.
look at them. We can cut them. I mean, that's.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
As long as it ain't gonna come into the cemetery, if it's gonna.
Oh, no, the
If
cemetery
it's gonna fall in the
is.
cemetery, we'll get somebody
It's not a huge hurry, but Jerry Baker was going to step up and do it, and I thought,
Well, if
well,
there's anything we can get tobacco on.
that's what I was thinking. That I would hate to lose this, have to bury a cemetery commissioner as a result of a terrible felling accident. Well, he's
Better a highway crew member?
no, I mean the cemetery commission doesn't have like a backhoe.
And the expertise, yeah.
And the expertise. Key phrase.
Well, I'll take a look at it.
Thanks. No, Jerry is a great sort of low-key ironic joker, and so I don't want to lose him.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That's really great.
Anything else?
No, that's about it. Like, you're gonna see a bill in there for the repair.
We did see a bill
On
in
the-
there for
on the
like
backhoe, so I mean,
$6,600.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, anything with fuel injection, it's gonna be costly. So,
Dan explained to me it's fuel injection and water pump.
yeah.
So it extends the life of that backhoe, depending on the motor, by at least 3 weeks. Maybe a year.
And tomorrow I'm going with a meeting, or a 2A meeting with Gabby. That's tomorrow,
It's
right?
next Tuesday.
Oh, it's next Tuesday.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought it was this Tuesday.
I know, I was gonna send you
I
that.
thought it was the 23rd.
Next.
Thing.
I'll confirm with you,
Okay,
but it's gonna be on the general road permit.
right.
That WRC is putting on a workshop about the new general road permit and your inventories.
Which we went to at the.
We went to a talk about that at the TOEC
Yeah.
conference, and this one is Erica Roper,
Oh,
who is a
okay.
transportation person at
Yep.
WRC, is going to give a talk about
Good.
that. So I thought it'd be
Great.
helpful if Fanny and I went.
Good.
On a somewhat related note, I read through the traffic ordinance that was adopted on the 11th, and I asked Peter to correct a couple of typos, some formatting issues, and to change the Guilford Selectmen to the Guilford Select Board,
Really, amen.
and to
I
add a
mean-
date or something like that. I just was like, no, I don't think we're.
I'm okay. I'm
So,
okay with
I don't
that.
think you needed to change the
I did not change.
last page. You just put in the dates of
Yep.
the postings and stuff like that.
Correct.
So it is as adopted, but it's a little more up to date, slightly amended. So
But none of the language was changed. Besides.
Not substantive.
no, I just okay. So finance warrants.
I'll make the motion pay the following payroll and warrants. Payroll for the week ending in May 14th, 2017 in the amount of $5,847.23. Payroll for the week ending May 21st, 2017 in the amount of $6,900.68. And expense warrant 1722 in the amount of $19,039.49 for a grand total of payroll and warrants of $31,787.40 with there were really no huge expenditures. There was an expenditure for our Blue Cross for insurance of $5,122.56, and the backhoe repairs cost $6,595.90.
Is it time for a motion?
It's
No.
time. She moved.
She moved.
It's
Oh,
time for a
I seconded.
It was a long
No, it
motion.
was seconded.
You do second it?
I
Thank
did.
you.
It's a very long motion, yeah.
Oh, I see. And I can't second it, obviously.
No, you
so
have
to.
No, until she finished.
That's correct.
She
Yeah,
finished.
so
finished.
now I'm seconding it. Okay.
Excellent.
Oh dear, the whole town of Brattleboro is going to watch this. Well, I guess it will be.
Is there any
Diverting.
discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do we have any communications?
Not this week.
Really a quiet time.
Move to adjourn.
You move to adjourn. Miranda?
Oh, I seconded.
At 7:04 p.m.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
Terrific.
much, everybody. That was great.